Hey YouTube, I'm back with another deck profile video. Due to popular demand, because I was noticing a bunch of comments from my last deck profile, which was the Chaos Breaker and Chaos Universe deck. People were commenting on Infinite Zero Dragon. People wanted to see the updated Infinite deck. So I actually didn't plan on posting the updated one, even though I did actually do it. But thanks to popular demand, I decided to go ahead and do it. So we'll be covering Infinite Zero Dragon today. Post set 5. Honestly, it didn't change all that much. There's a couple of things in here. I retuned it compared to what it was like the first time, but for the most part, it's still relatively the same, with a few notable changes, and we'll go over those. So, start off first, as usual, 4 Star Vader Infinite Zero Dragon. So, Infinite Zero Dragon is still the main Vanguard that you're going to be sitting on most of the game. The other backup, there's 2 this time around, so I've put in my 3 Garnet Star Dragon. So Garnet Star is really good in a mirror match against an Underling Joker opponent, where it's going to be very much of a stall game between the two. They're both going to be drawing out of their decks. So Legioning will help you in the long run be able to win in late game. So I'm going with 3 Garnet Star because it's free. Infinite Zero's Break Ride effect is also essentially free in terms of costing no counterblast. And then the other grade 3 that I am trying out here is Ionization Star Vader Hafnium. So this is the one that the Legion mate is actually the 12k Radon. This is the one from Blazing Perdition. No one ever played it. It's a rare. It's easy to get. Its effect is when this unit attacks a Vanguard, if it's in Legion, choose units equal to the number of your opponent's locked cards. And those units get 5k. So, essentially, if you break ride on top of Infinite Zero Dragon, you lock 2. You can lock a third thing to triangle lock them, and then you can give 5k to like all 3 lines, essentially making it similar to like a Nebula style play. Or you can put more heavily on the Vanguard's column or whatever you want to do. Or you could do like 10 to a rearguard column and 5 to another rearguard column, things like that, because this is already going to be the break ride power. So I feel like Hafnium is a pretty decent choice in here for that reason. I stuck with the idea of gaining high power columns building this deck, as opposed to with Chaos Breaker, it was more about the typical defensive Omega locking and stuff like that. So 9 grade 3s because we're not running any stride fodder. Grade 1s, so this just can ensure that you stride a lot more. But mainly you want to prioritize running Infinite Zero as the first ride, so that's why the Legion stuff is kind of just backup. For grade 2s, 4 Unrivaled Star Vader Radon, so the Legion mate for Hafnium. It's really good in here because of the playstyle of powering up the rearguard columns. And then next 4 Companion Star Vader Photon. So this is different from my first deck, where I think in that version of the Infinite Zero deck I was not running this. I think this was with Chaos Breaker. So I took this out of Chaos Breaker's deck, and people probably be like, well, why don't you just run it in Chaos Breaker? Well, Chaos Breaker got this guy, which is an 11k. So essentially it is both Photon and Radon combined together. Because when it attacks you with Chaos Vanguard, it's 11k, and then when it's placed on R, if you have a Vanguard with Chaos, you can counterblast 1. If the opponent has a locked card, you can choose one of the opponent's rearguards to lock it. So it does the same thing that he does, although it does cost 1 counterblast to do that. However, they did get this card, Zinc, which basically allows them to lock for free. So I feel like Photon is better used with Infinite Zero. And then the last grade 3 is 3 Star Vader Cold Death Dragon. Cold Death Dragon is really good. It's essentially Infinite Zero's Chaos Universe style effect, or actually Chaos Universe stole this card's effect, because I don't think a lot of people realized how good this card was back in the days of Omega Glendios. Glendios is still around. You don't see him that much though. It's kind of like Exodia in Yu-Gi-Oh! So it's a rare type of deck, but it's still a pretty powerful deck. But Cold Death Dragon, definitely really good card. So I bumped it down to 3 because I put Radon in here, and Photon's up to 4 now in here. So lots of ways of locking. This thing locks from the top of their deck. This thing locks, you know, stuff like that. So lots of ways of locking. So that's the grade 2 lineup. For grade 1, 4 perfect guards. Doesn't matter what perfect guard you run. You can run the Deleter one, the Star Vader one, this generic trial deck one. Doesn't really matter. Even the unflip one. However, they don't use a lot of counterblasts in this deck, so I feel like this one is probably more ideal. And then next, 4 clear out Star Vader Broman. Broman is just kind of there to help you ensure that you're able to ride Infinite, ride it as rest, so you can get the, at the end of your turn, you can essentially lock more of your opponent's stuff. So, because of this, you don't have to worry too much about trying to do Omega locks to the opponent, although I feel like Volt Line would be a decent card in here. However, instead of running Volt Line, because I put Volt Line in Chaos Breaker's deck, I am running Lantham in here because with the Break Ride and with Hafnium, you're able to make this an 11k booster or even like 13k booster pretty easily. So this combined with Radon in front of it is just easily powerful, strong lines hitting right numbers. So that's why I feel like Lanthanum is just really good at fitting here. And then I'm running 2 8k vanillas. So 8k vanillas because of Cold Death Dragon being an 8k. I just want to be able to hit 16 as much as possible. So that's why he's in there. For the trigger lineup, it's 4 draw. Didn't change. 4 draw, 8 critical, and 4 heal. And the starter is Dusttail Unicorn. Dusttail Unicorn is probably the most common starter that I've used. Now, the main thing is you don't have to run him. In fact, I'm actually thinking of switching to this because this works with Star Vader. So I might actually try Star Vader Carbon in with this deck because essentially it'll be like having another Colony Maker. And they do have lots of ways of locking the opponent with all the photons and Cold Death, plus the Break Ride skill, plus this other Garnet Star Dragon does the same thing. So, I mean, he does lock 2 things as well. So, I feel like Dusttail Unicorn isn't really that needed in here. So, if anything, I might just swap it for Carbon just to give them a Colony Maker play so they can, like, tutor something to the field. The only problem with this deck is it doesn't have too many targets to do that with, because essentially you just pick between, usually it's either going to be one of these two, and I'm running 4 and 3, so it's like pretty common that I'm going to run into them. So he might not be necessary, but I don't know. Let me know in the comments what you think would be the best starter for Infinite Zero, whether it's either one of these two or whether it's something completely different. I may try it out. So that's the main deck. For the Stride deck, it didn't change much. I'm still running the 2 Death Star Vader Quintessence Dragon. So this is Infinite Zero's Stride unit. This does use Counterblast and Soul Blast, so we don't run a lot of things that use up the soul. And because we don't run a lot of things that use Counterblast, this is relatively easy to pull off. Then 2 Big Crunch Dragon. Really, I feel like 4 of this would be the best for Infinite Zero. 2 of this and 4 of this, so you can stride both of them 2 times per game. So nice thing about him is he doesn't have to persona flip anything. So having 2 copies already allows you to stride him twice, which I think is enough. So 4 Big Crunch would be really good, but I only have 2. And then 2 Judgment Messiah. It's just a really good, annoying stride to go into to pressure the opponent. And then 1 Maximum Seal Dragon because you do tend to lock a lot of things. And then Blizza because Blizza in late game can just swing really strong, similar to Diablo and stuff like that. So that was basically it. Like I said, let me know what starter you would recommend running in your Infinite deck, as well as any sort of interesting rearguard choices that you may have came up with. So hope you guys enjoyed that deck profile, guys, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks.